There's an estimated 14,000 homeless people in Detroit, many who gravitate towards densely populated areas to panhandle. We've been seeing the same faces around downtown for years, and a lot of them are young, white suburbanites. We decided to talk to some of them and found the unifying factor is often substance abuse.
My name's Max. I'm 29. I'm originally from Shelby Township, Michigan, so here a little bit north.
How'd you wind up in this position?
I got addicted to heroin. I was on opiates for almost a decade. I was building decks and I fell off a 3-story roof and fractured my back 3 different places, got put on a bunch of different narcotics and developed from that. And I ended up doing a few months in jail and after I got laid off work and have been down here ever since.
My name's Mathew Frederick Herman. I come from Grosse Pointe, Michigan. I've been homeless most of the last 6 years, and I've lived downtown panhandling since December 2017. I sleep under this Wayne County building here, and not under the building, under the trees, either one of the 2 trees. In the winter, I'll sleep behind Checker Bar, which has a steam vent, but where the steam doesn't come out, so it keeps me warm without getting wet from water vapor. It's just convenient. There's a 7-Eleven right there. I panhandle a lot in Campus Martius or Greektown. Legends, the strip club, is right there, so there's good money. Late at night, it's your last-ditch effort to go to Legends and try and catch somebody coming out.
My name's Jeff Davis. I'm 38 years old, and I've been down here 5 years now. I was actually born in Kentucky, but moved here when I was a year. We moved to downtown, or not downtown Detroit, the outskirts of Detroit. And then I grew up in Farmington Hills, moved to Brighton, ended up getting married when I was real young, and I had my youngest daughter. I was married 11 years, ended up getting a divorce, and then got divorced, laid off, and I took my last check because I was out in Livingston County, and out there's no help for homeless. I mean, it's like woods, So they don't have churches, nothing that helps feed, so I figured it would be easier for me to survive in Detroit. So I ended up taking my last check, took a cab, got dropped off downtown.
Can you tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you came to do this?
My first job was in high school as a theater technician for the Grosse Pointe school system. I worked there from 03 to 07, but that was simultaneous with being in high school. However, I dropped out of high school and continued to work for the school system as a sound technician. Then I left that job to go to the Detroit Media Partnership, which did the ad inserts for the newspapers. Finally, after a few other small jobs through temp agencies and whatnot, I ended up at a liquor store in St. Clair Shores, which I held for a few years. And it was a really great job, and probably my favorite job that I've had. After I got fired from that job was around the time I started to be homeless. I got kicked out of my parents' house for, once you get to a certain age, they don't want you around. I didn't do anything particularly terrible in order to get kicked out. It was just time to go. I had my sister, who was alive at the time, egging on my dad, and there was a family dynamic really pushing to kick me out of the house. But, I know it's an extremely personal, specific situation, but that's what I had on my hands. So it's been 6 years that I've been out here. I've managed to get off drugs, and I'm taking Suboxone instead of heroin.
How did you wind up down in Detroit?
Well, being homeless, so it's a lot easier down here.
And what makes Detroit easier to be in as a person who is homeless?
Well, compared to the suburbs, as the police don't really put up with it, anywhere else that's really upper middle class that's out in the suburbs doesn't really put up with homelessness.
Do you mind talking a little bit about, from opiates, what drove you to using heroin?
Well, when they had took me off of the Vicodin and morphine, I was already physically addicted, and they didn't wean me off. And it's way more of an epidemic than people realize. It's everywhere. It was cheaper to get. It's one of those things that once you do it, you think, what is, the stigmata that so many people have against it? But you finally don't really realize that until after you're sucked too far into it.
Were you so on the brink that homelessness did seem like your only option at that point?
Yeah, it did. My mom, my stepdad, and my dad all passed away of cancer, so I had no family. I had a brother who I don't really speak to. I thought there was a lot more help. And when I got down here, I realized that I had to learn everything. So it took just a year just to learn where places were, where to sleep, how to survive, what I need to have out here to survive.
I try to get up early, but I don't have a phone or alarm clock, so sometimes I wake up late. I try to get down to Campus Marsh just by 8 a.m. so I can catch everyone coming into work. Because normally the people that show up really early are the ones that also stay really late, so they don't see any of the other panhandlers down here. So I'm really the first person I see of the day, so if I ask them for money, they'll generally give it to me. I'm over here by Jimmy John's. I catch the lunch rush. It's usually pretty good. By 6 or 7, if there's any events going on at the Fox or the Fillmore, Little Caesars, anything like that, I'll go down there because generally, I mean, it's hit or miss, but most of the time, it's a really good opportunity to make money, and I don't want to miss it. People don't look at it as a job, but really it is a 24-hour-a-day job. If I do not get up and go to where there's people at certain times, like the events or the lunch rush, then I will not make money for that day, and I won't be able to get or do the things that I have to do to survive for the day.
How much of a grind is it? If you could shed any light on it.
Oh, it can be a really hard grind. There's a lot of great people out here who are willing to help, but there's thousands. You'll go through literally thousands of people in a day who will straight up ignore you, and they'll have a really funny attitude about it, an affectation, if you will. Just not nice at all, very rude. So that's never a good feeling when people intentionally try and weaponize their privilege against you as a non-homeless person.
Do you feel like people are constantly judging you or looking down on you for that?
Yeah, people make you feel like you're a piece of shit most of the time. Like 90% of the time. I mean, there's good people out there. You just got to find them. I mean, yesterday, I had a guy come up to me and, he bought me lunch and gave me a couple bucks and, wanted to know my story and just seemed to really care and said, it's the first time I've seen you out here, which is funny because I'm down here all the time. But he's like, I'll look for you. And, I have a few people down here that I actually consider friends now and, that help me out if I really need it. Like if I came up to them and was like, I need this, like I really need this, whether it was money or clothes or something, they'd be like, no problem, and they would give it to me. But also at the same time, that's something they have to be careful with. I mean, with anything, if you abuse that, it'll go away.
I feel like a lot of people, a common thing that you hear people say is, I don't want to give someone who's homeless money because I don't want them to spend it on drugs or alcohol. So I guess if there's one thing that you would want people to know, what is something that's helpful? If you needed help, what's the best form to give that in?
I mean, if they can't give money, they sometimes got to think outside the box. Like, we'll get toothbrush, deodorant, toothpaste, all that stuff all day long, and you get so much of it you can't do nothing with it. But it's like, sometimes you need, like, I have 2 flashlights in my tent, batteries. That's what people don't realize. If I want to do a load of laundry that's not at the church, I want to go to the laundromat down there, I gotta have the quarters for that, to do that, or buy the laundry soap. And food's nice too. It's just not always are you hungry at that moment, and sometimes, like I can't eat mushrooms. There's mushrooms on it. I'm allergic to mushrooms. So, you can't eat it, but you take it, you accept it. And, I'm grateful for anything because, people don't owe us anything. So I understand that, but, anything helps really, as long as it's not the basic stuff like, like I said, the toothbrush and all that. I could open up a convenience store or toiletries products that I have under my tent and where my tent's at. It's crazy.
And so would you say, do you have a pretty good community down here of other folks who you hang out with?
Yes and no. I've been clean since December 7th now, since I got out of jail. But most of the other homeless people down here are either alcoholics or drug addicts. So being down here, it's really hard to find other people that are in my position because I don't want to be around that anymore because I really think that if I go back to doing drugs, how am I ever going to get out of this situation? And I see people that are stuck and trapped in that disposition every day.
And so were you able to get clean because you went to jail, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I did. I got clean in jail, but then when I got out, I went to a rehab. I went to Sacred Heart, because, jail gets you clean, but, no one really ever stays clean once they leave jail. So I just kind of wanted a, different way to learn how to deal with it, and I thought that'd be the best way to do it.
Anything important you want to get across?
when you see us, please be kind. Please remember that we're human beings, and we're all created in the image of God. So don't try not to think of yourself as any better or any different, because a lot of this is very circumstantial, and we can really use your help if you can.
Is there anything else that you want people to know about your experience or what it's like for you down here, just to keep in mind?
I guess just don't judge someone based on their appearance or by, homelessness. I mean, because it's not always people. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not, everyone always thinks it's drugs, alcohol, and mental illness, and that's not always the case. I know plenty of people that are homeless down here that are just shit out on their luck, and I don't know. It's just, it's tough. I guess I just want people to be a little more understanding. That's all.
Well, thanks so much for talking to us, and congrats on being clean. That's amazing. Yeah.